I started to discuss my investments in blog post in October of 2008. I am a conservative and cautious investor who uses a variety of trading techniques to reduce my risk. My primary risk this year will occur when and if the Fed starts to cut the federal funds rate, currently at 5.25% to 5.5%. The federal funds rate was 0 to 0.25% for a long time before the Fed raised it just 25 basis points in March of 2022 when the CPI, Consumer Price Inflation Index, had already increased by 8.5% for the 12 months ending in March 2022. The Fed's monetary policy was largely responsible for the inflationary spiral that occurred due to its failure to respond earlier to problematic inflation by ending quantitative easing and ZIRP, which stands for zero interest rate policy, which is what is meant by a 0 to 0.25% federal funds rate. Both of those monetaries are exceptionally loose and expansionary and extremely abnormal. Keeping them in place for too long was a policy error that was compounded by extremely excessive money creation related to its QE policy, where the Fed created money to buy U.S. Treasury and mortgage-backed securities that eventually took its balance sheet to just shy of $9 trillion in March 2022. If someone had told me 10 years ago that the Fed would increase its balance sheet to $9 trillion through money creation, would still have the federal funds rate at 0 with inflation running at 8.5% over the prior 12-month period, and was using quantitative easing when real GDP growth was consistently exceeding 2%, I would have said that would and could never happen. A central bank could not even conceivably be that reckless. But the Fed was that reckless and let the inflation genie out of the bottle to run amok. A reversal of those extremely abnormal monetary policies, including increasing the FF rate gradually to its current level and uncreating the extremely excessive money supply, have together coincided with a decline in inflation, along with the end of the supply chain problems created by the pandemic going away, and those conditions have resulted in lower inflation. The inflation is almost back to the Fed's desired range. I'm now expecting at least a 25 basis point cut in the federal funds rate on or before the June meeting, and at least one more after that sometime later this year. That will lower yields on short-term Treasury bills where I have a substantial weighting and will reduce my interest income as more securities mature and the proceeds will have to be reinvested at lower yields or the same or higher yields provided I'm willing to take on more credit risk. So far, I'm mostly using proceeds from maturing securities, which come into my sweep accounts almost daily, to buy Treasury bills. I participated in last Monday's 3-month Treasury bill auction and today's 4-month Treasury bill. Yields are close to 5.4% for those bills, reflecting a consensus opinion that the federal funds rate will remain unchanged until the June meeting, with a slight possibility of a 25 basis point cut in May, when the Fed meets in May. I will also participate in tomorrow's 58-day bill auction. So I'm just punting the issue down a few weeks or months. I have not bought any corporate bonds in several weeks as yields retreated. This week, so far, I have bought $8,000 in principal amount of investment-grade corporate bonds, maturing in 13 to 15 months, picking up about 50 basis points in yield compared to the one-year Treasury bill. Most of them are rated BBB plus. That extends the maturity a bit further than I could get with a one-year Treasury bill. I will be discussing those purchases in my next post.